Sometimes you forget what's at the back of the pantry. Old spice packets or tins of food can easily be forgotten. Fitting an existing cupboard with a handy pull-out pantry is a great idea. They save a heap of space and you can easily see exactly what you've got in there. This pull-out pantry has a simple rectangular frame that attaches to the top and bottom of the existing cabinet. We'll show you how to correctly measure and install this frame, then secure it to the pantry door so it's nice and sturdy. Okay, I've removed the shelves and I've cleared all the junk out of here. The first thing I'm going to do is remove these doors to give myself plenty of room to work. Now this is really simple. All we have to do is push the button at the back there and the hinges just pop off. Now I'm installing a pull-out pantry. The cabinet that this usually goes into is 400 millimeters wide and the height ranges from 1740 up to 2 meters high. Now I've checked that this cabinet is securely fixed back to the wall because there is going to be a fair bit of weight once this unit goes in there. I start by taking off the door. Now I've got a 400 millimeter wide door. Now all I'm going to do is take that 400 millimeters and mark that on our unit. Now this here is our template that's provided with our unit. On our template it says this is our centre line of our cabinet. Now I've marked 400 millimeters for my door, so I'm going to go half the width of the door, which is 200 millimeters. So I'm just going to mark that on our unit, 200 millimeters. Now that's 200 millimeters to the centre of our door. Now the width of my side panel of the unit here is 18 millimeters, so that comes off our 200 millimeter mark, which is 182. So I'm going to take that measurement down the back. Now these templates are pretty handy because they're sticky downy. So all I'm going to do is make sure that the centre lines up with the centre. Now this template gives me all the information I need for pre-drilling the base plate holes. Now I'm just using a 2mm drill bit to pre-drill our holes for our screws. So now we're done with that template, we can just remove that and then start attaching our base plate. Now this is our bottom unit. What we're going to do is open that up and line that up with our pre-drilled holes, and then put in our screws that are provided. Nice and easy. Okay, now all that's fixed. Now there's a handy template for the top, so just repeat the process. Now this is our unit that all our baskets sit into, and this top part is our telescopic part. This will be fixed to the top of our cabinet. For now we'll take it out and attach our plastic feet. And we're just going to flip this over and pull out our runner from underneath. Now on our runner here we've exposed this little black handle. We're just going to flick that over and remove this base plate. So we'll just clip that out, and we're just going to park this aside also. Now we're just going to be dealing with this, and now we're going to fit our plastic feet to the underside of it. Now all we do is take our plastic foot, slip that underneath our rail and attach our screw provided. Okay, now just flip that around, do the same on the other end. Now you just want to take that unit and fix this back into our sliding part of the telescopic frame. Now just drop this back into our frame. Right, let's just take this into our unit, position that there for now, and remove our screws that are on our bottom track. Now all we have to do is lift this frame into position. Now let's just take our screws that we've just taken out of our base unit, and we're just going to fix those in there We'll screw them all the way down, but at this stage, let's just leave them finger tight. Great. Now that's finger tight. We can come back later and tighten those up. Next thing, we're just going to go back up to the feet up the top and screw them in our pre-drilled holes. Okay, now let's just lift that out of our telescopic shaft, line those up with our pre-drilled holes and screw in. Rightio, the next thing we have to do is attach our door onto our frame. To do that, I'm using these brackets. Now there are a few dimensions that we have to pay attention to get this right. Now the first set of dimensions that we have to pay attention to are 84 millimeters off the top of our unit here, plus the thickness of it. So if we measure 84 mil off there, plus the thickness, we're looking at 101 millimeters. So now I'm going to take 101 millimeters, mark it off the bottom of my door and square a line across. Okay, let's just take that center screw out. Now these other two screws here are just for adjustment of our door later, so we don't worry about that just yet. Let's slip this into our frame. Put our screw back in. Now let's just do the same up the top. Okay, now all we have to do is measure the centre of this hole to the centre of the other hole on the other bracket. Now it's going to be very hard for you to measure from the centre of the hole to the centre of the hole on your own. So here's a little tip for you. If you just hook your tape on the bottom of your bracket and measure to the bottom of the bracket at the top, that is still going to give you your centre to centre, which in this case is 1776. So now I'm going to transfer these dimensions onto my door. Okay, now all we do is mark the centre of the door. If you remember, that was 400 mil, so I'm just going to mark 200 and do the same down the bottom. Now just screw the brackets onto the door. So let's just pull our frame out to give ourselves a little bit of room to work and slip our brackets into our frame. Let's just have a look now to make sure it's all sitting nice and square. Now I can see on this right hand side there's quite a big gap there. It's a little bit bigger at the top than it is the bottom. So that's what our two little adjustment screws are on our bracket. So I'll open that back up and allow the whole unit to come this way a little bit. I'm just going to back off the main screw that's holding it all in, and then in my situation I want the door to travel over to the right a little bit, so that should be pretty good there. Let's have a look at the top. I'll release that main screw. Let's just have a look at that. Bottom's looking pretty good, so the top could go over just a tad more. Each door is different, so with a little trial and error, you'll find out what works best. Now the gap on the side there is looking really good. The next thing we have to do is attach this bracket to the back of our frame onto the door. It'll help keep the frame and the door nice and tight together. Just attach this bracket about a third of the way up the door. Now we've got one more screw here. We're just going to tighten that up just to make sure there's going to be no rattle on that door. Lovely. Now we're just going to go around and tweak all the screws up nice and tight. Rightio, the last set of screws we have to put in go from the back of the spine into the door here. Okay, all our hard work is done now. The last thing we have to do is just clip in our little brackets that hold our baskets in. Now that's one well organised pantry.